Hello beautiful people, welcome to my VBA tutorials. My name is Namita Devi and this video is going to be very interesting because I'll be sharing with you beautiful and amazing tips and tricks with you about your VBA and Macro. And by the end of this video, I will also be sharing with you how you can get this beautiful 3D button instead of this boring gray out button in your Excel file. So let's start with our tips. Tip number 1. Do not just start coding on whatever you get in your Excel. Excel itself is a very robust tool. It provides you filters, pivot tables, data validation, data formatting, thousands of Excel functions. You already have so much functionality inbuilt in Excel which you can use. So every time when you get any work in your Excel, don't think about creating a macro for it. When you feel that you, your friends or your colleagues or your team is doing some manual routine jobs in Excel, then here comes the VBA. Then you can use VBA, then go for it, try it, and I'm sure that everybody will bless you for that. Tip number 2. Record macro and your external research to create your code without any hesitation. I have so many years of experience in building macros, but I still use recording of macro and my external research. I took various syntaxes from the different websites. So to create a macro, you do not need to be expert in coding. The only thing required is your logical thinking approach. Your approach of solving a problem which will be solved by creating this macro. So recording macro which will tell you what action needs to be performed next, and your some external research which will mold your syntax as per your requirement. When you merge both of them, the solution will be created for your problem. So please use both these functionalities to create your codes without any hesitation. Tip number 3. When you start working on your macro, please finish your must-have features first. Your basic coding should be completed at the very beginning so that it will decrease your turnaround time to create a working model to show it to your team or to your managers. So your must-have features should be completed first, and then you can work on the beautification and other stylings in your macro. Tip number 4. When you will start your coding in macro, you will be needing some help from the external website to get the syntaxes to get your work done. So for that, from the beginning, you can create your own guide which will contain some common syntaxes which you will be using, which you can refer in your future. So you do not need to go back to the search and again search for the syntaxes. That will consume a lot of time. So to start with, you can use my VBA cheat sheet which I frequently use while creating my macros, and you can get that by going to my website myexcelclub.com. From the top header you can click on VBA syntax. You'll get an article 50 most useful and common VBA syntaxes. When you will scroll down, you will get a button with a table. You can download this table by clicking on this button. It is completely free, guys. It is something that I offer to my students. I always suggest my students to make this type of guide for yourself. You can add the syntaxes in the table that I already have for you. So you can use that and it's for free. Tip number 5. When you are coding your macro, please provide comments. Many people miss it and they really face issues in future. This is basic hygiene, but very, very important, guys, because if you are not providing any comments to your macro, if you are reading it, or let's say after some time your friend is reading your macro, they will not understand what this macro is doing, or they will take a lot of time to understand that what this macro is doing. So providing comments in between your macros, that what this code is doing, what this macro is all about, how it is going to work, some basic hygienes, you can write it in your comments, and it will help you and your friends who are referring that macro in future. So please provide comments in your codes. Tip number 6. Give a relevant name to your macro. Whatever your macro is doing, when anyone is reading the name of your macro, the name itself should tell that what this macro will do. So for example, I have a website, myexcelclub.com. By reading this name, you will get to know that this website is something related to the Excel. You can get some stuff related to the Excel. So in this way, you should have some relevant name to your macro while you will code, so that it will be helpful for you and your friends to understand what this macro will do. Tip number 7. Test your macro which you are building regularly and frequently. For example, I have a long macro to work on. I should divide my macro in subsections. Once I complete one section, I should test it, and then for the second section, and then I test it for the third section, and then I test it. It should not be like I am completing my whole macro in one go and then I am running my macro to test and it is throwing me an error. It is really irritating. So whatever you are coding in your macro, test your macro regularly, test your macro step by step. It will help you a lot to save any mishappening at the end. Tip number 8. When you are done with your macro coding, if possible, you can add a message box at the end. This message box is something like when a user is using your macro, running your macro, at the end, the user is getting a message box stating that this macro is completed, this macro has done its job. So this is a part of beautification and styling of your macro, I would say, but this is very useful, guys. I found it very useful. I always use this message box at the end of my macro, which indicates the user that this macro has completed and the job has been done. Tip number 9. So you have given a relevant name to your macro and it's time to give a relevant name to your module. So I'm going to my screen. You can see that I'm clicking on developer, going to Visual Basics, and on the left hand side this is known as the Project Explorer. If you accidentally delete it, you can get it with the shortcut key Ctrl+R, or from the top, from View option, you can go to your Project Explorer. To change your name module 1 to some relevant name, you can get it from the top view and then going to the properties, or directly press the F4 key from your keyboard as a shortcut key for the properties, and change the module name from module 1 to I have given a relevant name, Combine Sheets, to my macro and to my module. So likewise, you can also give a relevant name to your module, and this will help you to see in the first place that what this module contains, which type of macro this module contains. Tip number 10, my favorite one. If you don't like that gray out button which is provided by Excel by default, you can use a 3D beautiful button. You can use it from my file. In the description, I have provided you a link. You can download my file. The password of my file is my website name, My Excel Club. I have also password protected the macro which I have written in that file, and the password to open that macro is also My Excel Club. So by this password you can open my file. You can copy that 3D button from my file to your file, and if you are facing any issues while doing this, so you can tell me in the comments and I will help you out. Hope you liked all the tips and tricks that I have shared in this video. If you like it, please share it with your friends, family or colleagues, and if you haven't subscribed my channel yet, please subscribe it if you like it, and thank you for watching.